Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by warfashion.com. Head to warfashion.com, that's W-O-R-E fashion, to get 30% off on your purchases with the discount code BreakingUp30. It's very exciting to have a sponsor and I'm very grateful. So everyone go and get some nice clothes, some nice summery tops. That's warfashion.com and BreakingUp30. Thank you. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to Breaking Up, a podcast about breakups, love and pop culture. I'm your host, Isabella Shields, and I'm here with the lovely Matthew Rimmer. Matthew's an incredible artist who recently exhibited at 16 Nicholson Street and who's here with me today to talk all about relationships and all about being intersex. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, Isabella. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the lovely introduction.
No problem. Thank you for being here. So I've started like every podcast recently by asking people what their relationship to relationships is. So what's your relationship to relationships?
So I feel like my relationship to relationships is quite strong. I really like relationships. I think they're like, I think I need them in like terms of friendships and like romantic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
do you mean like in the context of having a relationship, you need the friendship of that like intimacy? Or do you mean like
I feel
in
like
all of your life you think of relationships as being quite like important in like a one-on-one sense?
Yeah. Like in terms of like relationships broadly, they've always have been and will be very important to me. Like friendships, you know, like I need that sort of like feeling of like best friends. I almost like rely on relationships too much. Like they matter so much to me that like it can completely change, you know, my whole self-esteem or like just sort of energy in life, you know?
Yeah.
Like I kind of like base a lot of who I am on the relationships that I'm in, whether that's like friendships or
romantic ones.
Yeah,
I think I'm totally the same in that like I think they are my priority in a really big way. Like I think just like the sanctity of like good relationships like does take up most of my emotional time, and like just making sure that everyone's okay, that like everyone's like feeling good about me as well. If you know what I mean? Like, we're all on like a good and happy and nice page, I think is so important, because if it goes wrong in any way, if I'm having like a row with anyone or like if anyone's upset with me, it just takes up everything. Like it just takes up all of my headspace, all of my time, and like
it affects my other relationships
and it affects my work because I just
sure.
can't stop thinking about it. And
like I hate upsetting anyone.
Yeah, me too.
And like I feel like relationships are universally upsetting and like as well as there being like such a source of like happiness and like support, I think in a way, my relationships can be a bit unhealthy in that sense, where it's like, it can stop me in my tracks and like make a good day bad.
Yeah, because
like,
it's a bit all-consuming.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I love loving things and people and like, you know, like really kind of trying to sort of, no matter what is happening, if we're arguing or if like we're having a good time, like doing it all with as much love as possible, you know.
Aww. What a lovely sentiment.
I
think that is also part of it, because often the most like upset you get is when someone you care about has like either let you down or you feel like you've let someone you care about down, and like that's why it's so horrible, and that's why it is so all consuming. And like, no, I totally get that, but I do agree that like I also need to maybe get a bit of distance from that, and maybe like even in like super subjective situations need a bit more objectivity. But then like I think that's why I also do what my sister calls like the hive mind, where like if one thing's bothering me, I message like so many people about it to be like, what are your thoughts?
Oh my god, that's so not that's so I feel like I maybe need a little bit more of that.
More hive mind.
More kind of like, you know, I punish myself with not like talking to anyone about it. Like
I talk to so many people about it that like my sister thinks it's funny because like she says that there are some people that I know will just agree with me, and then some people who are like I know will be like, chop.
Yeah.
And be like, from what I know about you in the past, you're doing this because of this, not because of what's actually happening. And that's why it's really helpful, and that's why it's really good. But like, I sometimes need to stop depending on all my other relationships to like dictate like,
your relationship at the centre of
exactly.
things. Like that can't be your relationship at the centre of things can't be based on like all the relationships outside of that and like what they know about you or like, think about you. But I feel like sometimes I'll go and meet up with someone meaning to talk about those things and just not, and like feel like an idiot for even thinking to do it, you know.
Really?
Like, it's not that like I don't want to speak to people about it. It's just that like I love it when someone asks me for advice on like something that they're going through. Like I like to like discuss those things, but like, and I like to discuss it for myself as well, but it's like bringing it up can be like just it could just be a bit of a crisis sometimes, you know.
But I think that's also like a toxic masculinity thing as well.
Totally, for
like,
sure.
Because I was talking about this with my dad actually, and he was like, yeah, but like when you're a man or when you're male, like the only reason you hang out with someone's kind of to do something.
Yeah, this is it. And
like it means that when you're doing something, it's much more difficult to bring up something that you actually want to talk about, because you're like, oh, but we're not doing that, we're like playing tennis, or like we've gone to this restaurant to like do this, and like
you'd be interrupting that time that you've said you're gonna have
to be like, it's about me now.
I
think that feels really hard for people who've been like brought up male, and like
it's definitely that. It feels like I have to try to bring my femininity out sometimes in those kind of things. Like I feel like maybe it kind of comes out naturally in like kind of things that I like, you know, or like talking about fun things, but like when it's like talking about like my emotions that maybe aren't so good or like need a bit of care and attention, it's like
does it feel quite daunting?
They're very daunting, and like it's so affecting that it's like it's not even like the easy way is not to talk about it. The easy way is like it's just to keep on with that system of like not talking about your emotions. Like I literally only talk about my emotions like I feel like with the person that I'm seeing at that moment in time, and like that's not always very healthy like thing to do. Like
I find that in like most relationships though, like it feels like a lot of the time when I've been with somebody that I'm like their sole opportunity to like talk about things. And then we were talking in the kitchen 10 minutes ago about like what it's like to be, because I've never apart from getting like massively rejected when I was 14 I've never like been done, but I've always like broken up with people, or it's like not been enough of a thing for me to like be broken up with, if you know what I mean. It's just like fizzled out at the beginning, or like not happened. And like one thing that's quite like that I've always found really overwhelming about breaking up with people is that you become this like person that they pour everything into, and then it feels like one of the hardest parts of breaking up with people is just cutting that off. Because that's so really true. Like, and I think that's why there are some occasions where like you just end up like still talking to your ex about things, and like you do become this like, and I think I have got this with like one of my exes currently, like you're still a bit of like a life raft for them, and like because I've got an ex who basically just gets in touch with me when things are like at boiling point. And like we don't have much of a friendship beyond that, and like
it's a support for the crisis kind of.
But like that is a daunting part of being like the breaker-upperer, if you know what I mean, and being like that I'm pulling the plug.
And I guess being the breaker-upperer is harder to then also like cut those things off when like when you need to.
But it's also then really weird if you want to message them. Because like especially if you're like, oh, we're still gonna be friends, and then you're like, no, I actually want to be friends, but I don't know if I can cash this check. I don't know if I can now be like, time to pay attention to me again. Hello. Because then often you don't really know like why you want that as well. And you're like, what am I getting out of this?
Like what does this friendship now mean to me?
If it can exist as a friendship, like
like how do you, because you can't really change it, can you? You can't really just forget that you're in a relationship and be friends. Like,
No.
That's kind of how it sort of comes across as, that's the sort of sentiment of what you're saying when you're like, let's just be friends. But it's like, really, you're continuing a relationship, the same relationship, just without like key elements of that relationship that you had before.
At like 60%.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the acceptable rate for it to be, isn't it?
And it's just funny, like, but how do you think being intersex has like affected your approach to relationships?
Well,
or you're being in relationships as well?
I think we were talking about this in the living room half an hour ago. I feel like in a way it lowered my confidence for starting relationships in school, which I'm actually quite thankful for, because I don't think it would have been good for me. I think that's what I thought was good for me. It was what I was kind of obsessed with, having, seeing someone, having like romance with people. But like, I don't think that I was at all ready for that, because I wasn't ready to tell those people that I was intersex.
Yeah.
Which has like always been actually a really like lovely thing about getting into relationships, being able to talk to someone about being intersex that's not my mum, because my mum is,
that's really nice.
like my mum's amazing at all of that, but like, I can't just have, that was what was, my first relationship getting into when I went to uni, was like, okay, when am I going to say? When are they going to notice that I'm intersex? Which I don't think, like, unless I was investigated into, it wouldn't be noticed physically, But yeah, talking about that and like, figuring out how it wasn't as much of a big deal as I thought, or like how it was a bigger deal in certain areas than I had thought about, or like, frankly, I didn't know I was intersex until 2 or 3 years ago, when someone that I was seeing had been like listening to a podcast and was like, oh, I was listening to this podcast today. They were talking about intersex people who are like people born with like a sex difference, or like basically like sex fluidity. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, and she was like, yeah, like, I think maybe you're intersex. And I was like, wow, okay. But I guess had to do these things like to make me
dating
the same.
Yeah,
they had to intervene in
still
these,
not
like,
really
certain ways.
I don't feel
So
really know that
fix
much.
me to like,
I feel like you're still new
make
to
it.
it.
So
Yeah, I'm totally new to it. So yeah, relationships have been incredibly significant in me discovering who I am, as an intersex person, and like figuring out that no, like I was born different. Like, this is not like something for me to brush under the rug. Like, I was encouraged to by a whole medical procedure.
That's kind of erasing and like kind of unpleasant, especially if it's like treated as if it's something that has to be fixed, as you said, and like something that's got to be corrected. Because I imagine I felt terrible enough about myself when I was like a teenager without being told that there's like an issue that needs to be sorted out all the time, apart from just like other elements of like how I perceived myself that were more like based in media, based in like my mum's expectations of like what diet culture would make me look like. You know what I mean? Yeah, but I found that really overwhelming. But it's really interesting that it came out through a relationship that you were intersex.
Yeah, like, I don't know if I'd even, like, embarrassingly enough, don't know if I'd even been presented with the term or heard of it before that point. Like, I immediately kind of, listened to this podcast, and like, it was someone who was figuring out their non-binariness. Like, they were like in their 30s, and they'd just come out as non-binary. And like, they were kind of like investigating all the sort of historical, cultural realms of non-binariness, and they came to like talking about intersex people, talking to an intersex person, and like putting it in the sense of like, this is like non-binariness is more related to like gender fluidity, whereas like intersexness is like more related to like sex fluidity, and like they're so important for each other, because like intersex people are living proof that like that sex isn't binary, and therefore that like helps aid like anyone who would dispute anyone being non-binary, saying that it was just like, you know, a fabricated thing. You have these proofs of those, you know, those identities, like,
I think a big thing, because like my partner's non-binary, and most people I know now are non-binary, and like I think the most irritating like rebuttal I think that they've often had is like, well, no, because you're born a woman or you're born a man kind of thing. And like, it's interesting that all these discourses like join in with each other, and they are all really helpful. I think
they're so helpful. And like, people can decide they're non-binary and then decide that they're not non-binary. Like, you know, people can be non-binary and still use like she or he pronouns. Like, it doesn't have to be. It's like, I guess, learning that that there really is no binary there, like, and you just have to like accept that like we can't segment people into these like one side of or the other kind of.
And these like absolute categorizations of anything, really. So do you think there's like a real freedom that's come from finding all that out about yourself? Like, what's...
Yeah, definitely. Like, a freedom for myself, you know, like, kind of like feeling proud of it for the first time, and like feeling like kind of like this is like cool, like this is like these are like my people, you know, not a cringy way, but like I didn't know where to look. I was told that it was the most rarest thing ever.
Really?
And like,
when you were growing up?
But then like intersexuality is so common, like it's like there's the fact that's kind of like floated around, which I think is like quite Eurocentric. It's the only fact I know to put into perspective about how many intersex people there are, but I don't think it's a good one to run by. So if anyone has any other suggestions, let me know. It's like said that like there are as many intersex people in the world as there are ginger people, or like I'm not sure if it's like in a like a UK society thing, like there is as many intersex people as there are ginger people. Obviously, like, what does that mean? Does that mean like, I don't know what that means, like in terms of like the world population, but it's over, then like it's almost intersexuality is so common,
which is a lot.
Which is a lot of people. There's this, there's the fact that's like kind of like floated around, which I think is a lot of people to keep a secret as well. You know, it's the only fact I know to put into perspective about
like,
how
especially
many
for the medical
there are, but I don't
discourses,
think it's
like,
a good
oh my
one.
god, Matthew just chewing a glass.
They're just eating glass. It's like so obsessed.
That's what intersex people do.
Yeah. Or like, I found out it's intersex because it's like a UK society. Like there is many intersex people. Obviously, like, what does that mean? Does that mean like,
that's really interesting.
That like in terms of like the world population,
I don't really have a frame of reference for
but it's over. It's almost 2%.
It's not something that I particularly looked into.
Which is a lot.
I remember watching a film called XY or XXY when I was younger. That was like I think either a French or Spanish film about an intersex person
as well. You know,
alienated as well.
As
like a little film, like especially for the medical discourses. But that was maybe my only engagement. Matthew just chewing a glass.
Just eating glass.
And it was also bound up in like
That's
what intersex people do.
And was that like trauma because they were intersex, or was it like trauma outside of things?
Well, I'd say it was trauma because they had
really
like a similar, like their parents had a similar attitude to like. Yeah, because I don't really have a frame of reference for having, and also because there was it's not something that I particularly looked into. They were like. I remember watching a film called XY or XXY when I was younger that was like I think either French or Spanish film about an intersex person. See their genitals and all that kind of stuff. It was all quite like for me as like a little horrible, but then they fell in love and like. But that was maybe my only engagement, and there was all this like tension. Like that's the thing. I guess worry from that person, and it was all kind of bound up in like a lot of trauma for that person. And I can't really remember how the film went. I'll give it away because you
was that
I fully recommend it.
Definitely like trauma outside of that is that.
Well, I'd say it was trauma because they had like a similar, like their parents had a similar attitude to like the medical community had.
Apart from like these
and also because there was like
found on
people,
Instagram
they
this
were like
morning, actually.
presenting as
On the
female, but like
intersexy,
quite a butch like
Instagram page.
aesthetic.
Oh my
and
God.
There was people trying to like see
two
their genitals
twins
and all that kind
who
of stuff,
are
and like it was all
intersex.
quite like
This is
quite
really
horrible.
cool.
But then they
Yeah.
fell in love.
It is
and
like
it was
it's
this
so
whole thing, and
secretive,
It's quite
and
nice.
that's like
But then there was all
that
this
is
tension
the
and, like,
main problem.
I guess
Because
worry from that person. Like,
It's
what's
seen
gonna
as a
happen next
problem.
in terms of what
It's
that
seen as a
person's
problem.
about to do.
That's
But I
that's
can't
the
remember how
first
the comment is.
hospital.
I'll give it a Wikipedia
Yeah,
before I fully
And then it's
recommend
seen
it.
as like something that
Definitely,
can be
yeah.
easily fixed.
You know what
It's
that is. 'cause
oh, well, this is
I've
like-
never seen.
For me, I
this
feel pretty
represented,
lucky
Mhm.
because
like,
it was
openly
like quite a
when you
simple
put
change.
it.
Yeah.
Apart from like these two models that I found on Instagram this morning, actually.
Oh really?
On the intersexy Instagram page.
Oh my god.
Yeah, two twins who are intersex, which is really cool. It is like it's so secretive, and that's like that is the main problem because it's seen as a problem. It's seen as a problem. That's the first step in the hospital if someone's born intersex, you know. And then it's seen as like something that can be easily fixed because it's like, oh well, this is like, for me, I feel pretty lucky because it was like quite a simple change. Yeah, I've got like a couple scars from that, and like I didn't like the look of them, but there wasn't a huge change until I was like old enough to know what that change was. But for some people who are more kind of like, it's more vague, like what side they should be like placed into by the doctor. Like if it's really kind of like androgynous, then the doctors think, okay, this needs to be changed now before this person ever realizes that they had this androgynous genitalia, like before they like are under the pressures of society to like be male or female, or like. And that's when the real abuse happens because it's like they're fine as they are. Like they don't. You should not be doing this to anyone who's not aware of this being done to them, and it can cause so many like issues down the line of like it doesn't sort out the hormonal like
imbalances. I guess.
Yeah, those hormones like may be a part of expressing who that person is, and like they may not feel like connected to the genital that was decided for them. You know.
Did you have to go through hormonal treatment as well?
Yeah, I still do. Get
What's that
testosterone every 3 months now. But I mean, it was like this is a thing that was like this is another reason why I feel lucky, but another like reason why I feel a bit weird about it is that like I feel comfortable being he, him, man, you know, like being like masculine, but like I know how risky that is. I don't feel like the decisions made for me were the reason that I felt like that. I think that there was just a whole other source of expressive things I like to do that make me feel like masculine, you know, or like kind of like not masculine, but like a boy, I guess, is more kind of like there was this good meme that my partner showed me the other day of like he, him, as in like when you see a dog crossing the street and you go, look at him go, but not like he, him, like a man.
Yeah,
it's
Adam
like,
said
you know,
this to me.
Yeah, really. Yeah, like that kind of like cute he, him, not like man,
like a beautiful dog.
Yeah, like a lovely boy dog, like Kismet.
Yeah, like Kismet.
Yeah.
He's asleep at the bottom of the bed.
Yeah.
Also, Adam and I were talking about how non-binary Kismet is. Because Adam was always like, he's just so femme.
Yeah, he's so
like...
Oh, you cute.
But yeah, thanks so much for like telling me all that. I feel like I've had
okay.
actual like education with it as well.
Oh.
And it's just really interesting to hear, like, because I've never had to go through anything like that. Like, the only equivalent like hormonal stuff that I could talk about would be like birth control pills, and that was horrific. Like, I couldn't take them for like
that,
a long. Like, do you get big like kind of emotional like surges based on the testosterone, or do you get like?
I'd say I've been trying to notice that more, and like, you know, maybe there's a lot of placebo attached to it, but like there definitely is a big crash when I'm like, I mean, a lot of the time I've been late because of my bad organisation, and when I'm late, like, it's like, it's not like I'm like, it's kind of like, it's not like I could go through periods of depression, but it's more commonly just lethargicness, not being able to get out of bed very easily, feeling a bit like, what's the point of it all, you know?
Yeah.
And then you get the testosterone, it's like hello, here I am. Like, it happened in lockdown actually. Like, it was so funny. Like, I got my injection. It was like middle of winter, and I was like, I used to do like 20 hours of delivery a week, which was like, you know, like I got used to this sort of like, you know, exercising a lot. And then lockdown happened. I didn't feel quite comfortable doing delivery as much, and just sort of fell into like being kind of like not doing as much exercise. But like when I get the testosterone again, it's like, right, do a shift of delivery or do something, you know, like, and I was getting really just testy around the house. And then I was like, I was like, oh, I need to go on a cycle. My partner was like, oh, do you want me to come with you? And it was like, I don't think you want to come with me. Like, I need to go fast on the bike and like let some shit out. And like, that was like, you know, I went on my fixed gear and cycled to Whiteley Wind Farm, which is like all uphill. So I was like standing up the whole way, like all sweaty and disgusting, and like I really needed it. Like, I came home like so much happier after that, and like I've been enjoying kind of like noticing those like feelings of like those urgencies of like what I need to do, and I've, you know, or like just really owning the fact like, yeah, I've had my testosterone and I feel great, or like I feel, you know, I might speak really loudly, or like my partner says I'm just kind of like start doing really boisterous things. Like, I'll just like throw a ball against the wall for like half an hour, like I'm like some like gym teacher or something.
Like,
or like
film Great Escape.
Yeah, or like
bouncing it
I'll be
off.
like, yeah, just like sort of being more active when I'm outside and like throwing things, or like being like just a little boy with like with his toys, like get the toy out from under the bed that I'm not, like my yo-yo or something. Oh, I'll have a play with this. Like, and then it kind of all fades into normal about like a week into it, and then it happens. So yeah, I've been having more fun with it recently for sure, and like fun thinking about it as well, like thinking about this sort of artificial man character that I am, you know, through like having the testosterone given to me, making my voice really deep, and like making me grow loads of hair, and like, I mean, this is why I'm lucky, I feel like, because it's like, what if I didn't want all of that, you know? It was so dangerous. I could have really not wanted any of that, but it was presented to me as like the only option. You know, there was no option. If I didn't, then I would be like a little boy for the rest of my life. That was kind of how it was presented.
Really? Is that true? Like, would it have affected your development to the point where you wouldn't have like grown in certain ways?
I feel, I don't know. This is something that I want to research more into, that I don't know about. Like, who would I be if I didn't have these interventions? If I didn't, like, obviously I know who I'd be if I didn't have the prosthetic intervention. I would have just been me. So like that's not hard to imagine, but like imagining myself without having testosterone given to me is hard, I guess, because it's like I kind of, you know, I really want to know that person, and I really want to like give that person a chance, because I feel like they weren't given a chance at all. Like when I was growing up, you know, I didn't have the chance to think about like the reality of that, or like, you know, apparently testosterone stunts growth. That's one thing that I know. Right. So like maybe that's why I'm so much taller than the rest of my family, who are like my dad's like 5'9", I think. I'm 6'7", so like, yeah,
Matthew's a very, very tall person.
So it's a big leap, you know. I think that like, and like, you know, no one in my family that we can
that any of my family knew were anywhere near as tall as I was. So it doesn't seem like a hereditary thing. So, you know, I think the idea is that like there's like you grow up and then at one point in puberty you have this surge of like testosterone which stops your bones from growing any longer.
Right.
And this like also feeds into this like the short man syndrome thing we were talking about.
Oh yeah.
Of like it's obviously bullshit, but like there maybe is a point where like, I don't want to speak for all short bald men out there, but a lot of short bald men have a lot of like gutso and kind of like, and they're really good at like kind of like being aggressive or assertive, you know.
I think that does like it does track and it doesn't track, if you know what I mean. Like I think that is partly because they've got to live up to a stereotype. You know what I mean, of being
exactly, of being bigger, larger than life, you know, kind of character.
Yeah.
Maybe that feeds into like, I feel like that feeds for tall people as well, of like the friendly giant kind of thing. Like
I know, like because that's really real.
It is.
It feels like it's like, and then do you think that's to do with like feeling like you're intimidating if you're taller, or feeling like there's a risk of being seen as like
not wanting to be seen as a threat, like not like wanting to impose your tallness on anything, like not wanting to live up to that stereotype of like a tall, you know, kind of like. But I've never been aggressive, or it's not something that like I am. Like
I don't think anyone would associate you with aggression.
I mean, like, it depends. If I stub my toe or something goes wrong on my bike or something, I can be pretty aggressive. But it's usually self-inflicted, you know. Also knowing that sort of, like, part of me, that's interesting. Like, any aggression that I do have, is my testosterone to blame for all of that? Like, is, like, you know, if I stop taking it, would I, like, you know, thinking about whether like there's a point in my life that I would want to stop taking it because like just to see, you know, whether that's like, you know, to again like find that person, you know, that I you know, because like I feel like you can just stop taking it, like, but can you not have any hormones produced in your body? I don't know. I think there's a lot of like there's a lot out of there, but it's like maybe just researching through other things like transness, like people's experiences with like changing their hormones or like having hormone blockers, you know, how that makes them feel. Like I think that there's like, you know, there's a lot of parallels there. So
how interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's okay. No worries.
Oh,
it's all good.
We
it's
get
nice
into
to talk about it.
Oh, good. I'm glad it hasn't been a daunting experience in itself.
No, it's been really
I've
nice.
loved listening. I feel like I'm just like slumped on my bed, like wow. But maybe we should talk about other people's relationship problems now, because we've had some really good ones sent in. So the first one is, I'm still friends with my exes, but I'm seeing someone new. When is the right time to introduce them, and how do I prepare for that?
Okay, so I've had a lot of problems with this, like just embarrassing things, like not like luckily people involved have been very understanding and like not like reacted in a bad way, but like I kind of don't know shit about relationships, like or like the boundaries of them, like, or like maybe I didn't for a long time, because like I kind of got into the relationship game like when I got to uni, and like I had kind of 2 consecutive relationships that were kind of, the ending of the first one was messy and indefinite and hard to sort of feel around. So it's like and they were also like part of the same friendship group that I was in, so it was like really difficult to cut off from that. And like I feel like they were going through
they kind of still wanted me as like a support network for them, and I didn't know how to tell them that I wasn't, or that I didn't want to be. And so I just ended up supporting them. They supported me as well, don't get me wrong, like it wasn't just like I was completely selfless act. And I it was nice to carry on this sort of like feeling of like comfort and support with my ex, but like that maybe was that was the inconvenience of my new partner at the time. And like they were luckily really like good at sort of coping with that, and like we would like, I feel like a week or two within of us like officially seeing each other, they met at a party and we all just had to, and then also my previous partner's new partner was also there, so it was like this like mix of like 4 partners that had kind of everything and nothing to do with each other, and we all had to sort of like be friends.
Yeah.
And we were all kind of young 20s, like not really knowing what we were doing. And so anyway, fast forward from that, like to, when would that have been? That would have been December 2019. And I'd broken up with my previous partner in September 2019, and then I was seeing someone new in like end of like October, November, and we weren't really like official yet, but like I had an exhibition opening and I invited them to come, and I also kind of invited my other 2 exes to come. My other 2 exes, I mean like my 2 exes to come, and I didn't really consult the new person I was seeing that they would be there, and I just sort of pushed it under the rug and like didn't deal, and knew that it was going to be weird, but also was like, wait a minute, no, this is like, as like someone who like had only had two serious relationships, but still that was like pretty much my only 2 point of references. I was like, well, it happened great the first time, like they just were friends, and like they did that, and that was great, like.
So what's the problem?
So what's the problem with having another person on board with that? Like they just jump in at the deep end. You guys get on as friends, and like it will be fine. But like, and like it was like I was exhausted. It was an exhibition opening, and like it just suddenly dawned on me that oh wait, I'm gonna have to introduce my ex to the person I'm seeing, and vice versa, and like it didn't really happen because the person I was seeing was like understandably uncomfortable in the situation, knowing that like that my ex was there.
That was basically an ex ambush.
Yeah. And it was all, and then like I didn't really like this was like, I feel like if this happened now, because of the time we've been in with COVID, like having this time to reflect on like my needs in certain situations, i.e. like just having an exhibition opening, I need to go home, or being like a place that's relaxed, that I can just chill out in, and not go to a party or like hang out with loads of friends, which is what I was doing then, which is what you're encouraged to do on openings, is like have like the best night of your life after you've just spent the whole 24 hours being awake making this fucking water sculpture. And like, yeah, it was just so messy, and I wish that I'd like because then we went out for like dinner afterwards, and like the person I was seeing was there, and my 2 exes were there. And like, and yeah, like,
this is so intense.
Yeah, luckily I'm now in like the best relationship ever with this person, but whenever this comes up, it is a bit sour. It's still the wound hasn't healed, but like luckily they didn't they didn't leave me after that, because that must have been pretty hard. It was the most embarrassing time in my life, I think.
That is like something out of a TV show.
Yeah.
Like, it is so sitcom that this would happen.
And this is like,
and I totally understand where everyone was coming from. Where everyone was coming from.
Yeah.
Like, you being really tense.
Yeah.
And, like, not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
As well as, like, because I guess they're still your friends. Like, inviting your friends to your exhibition opening.
Yeah,
not
you're
realising
like, you
that the whole
that,
night would be that.
like, trying to sort of build this, like, you know, and I do really believe that, like, a lot of toxicity is created around breakups that is unnecessary. I don't think that, like, it needs to be always this thing of like, I'm never going to see you again, and also let's decide what friends we have, which ones are yours, which ones are mine. What we're in this breakup, like, thing that I can't personally deal with, like having like such an intimate relationship with someone that I've broken up with,
but still at that like 60% thing.
Yeah. But yeah, like,
I couldn't do that.
Yeah,
that would make me feel insane.
Yeah, it does make you feel insane.
Like, my brain was dribbling out my ear.
Yeah.
Like, and I also think it was too much of an emotional roller coaster. Like, heart-wise, definitely.
Yeah, totally. It's not good for the heart. It isn't. And like, I would just like, I think this is like again tied into toxic masculinity. But like, anyone in this situation who's asking me for advice, I would say, tell your exes, maybe it's best not to come. Or if you really have to have everyone be there and being this like kind of free love kind of like situation, then you need to really talk it through with everyone. You know, it's not just gonna happen to be fine when you're in the situation.
Yeah, like, people need a bit of warning.
They need warning, and like I wish I'd given that before.
Do you know though, I did like almost the opposite of you.
Oh really?
And it was so bad, and Harlan still brings it up now. So like, what I did was listeners of the podcast will know that I started seeing Harlan before I'd completely concluded my relationship with the other person I was seeing.
Wow.
But the other person I was seeing was very on and off. It was very tumultuous. Like, he had a lot going on, I had a lot going on. And he was like quite unreliable, which was like a big part of what was difficult.
Yeah.
And he'd say he was going to come to like the openings of the gallery and all that kind of thing. He'd say he was going to show up a lot, and then he didn't. But I remember there was one time that Harlan still brings up where I specifically like asked Harlan not to come to an opening because I thought he would come. When we'd like just started seeing each other, and like I thought that it was like still like maybe gonna happen, and like maybe with Harlan it was just like a bit of a fling, and like it was such a mess, and he didn't even show up. The other guy didn't even show up at the gallery.
Yeah.
And then I told Harlan that, and I was like, brilliant. Like, I'm glad I also didn't show up to that. That was really fun for me, like, just staying at home instead of coming and all that kind of thing. And I was like, like, I was
to do,
disgusted.
Just trying to do the right thing, really. Like, not wanting to, like, expose someone to that, you know.
And I was like, 'cause I think that would have been horrible, like, if Harlan and the other person, like, showed up. And everything was still... Maybe what I mean is it would have been horrible for me. Horrible for me and Harlan, but the other person didn't really know. So probably wouldn't have been horrible for him. But then, like, what would I even have done at the end of that night? Like, what was my plan?
Yeah, what was the plan?
Like, what was I going to do?
Gonna walk into the sunset with the unreliable one? Yeah, with both of them. I think that's the thing that you maybe wanted,
Yeah. And that would have been easier and best for Isabella Shields, but not for anyone else in the situation. But that was really bad. Like, I remember that, and then the only other time where we like all met at the same point. Like, I've actually never really met an ex when I was with an ex, apart from this one time where like and I bumped into that ex. Kismet definitely has. Kismet's a total lady killer, who's definitely bumping into exes constantly. But yeah, we bumped into each other in Tesco, and like that was when he was with his new partner, I was with Harlan.
Yeah.
And then I just ended up like really trying to be like a bit too enthusiastic, and I was like, oh my god, hi! bye. And then I started
you're
talking
like,
to his new girlfriend about carrot cake for like way too long, and like asking her what like ingredients she was using. And then she was like, she was doing it as
doing the
well,
same thing,
so it was
yeah.
fine. And then I like, and my ex just had to be like,
oh, were they a bit
like
quiet?
it was really quiet, and I was like, okay, well, I hope you enjoy it. Like walnuts are always best in a carrot cake.
That's so
It was
funny.
horrendous. It was really bad. There was another time where just like I went into Glasgow Uni Library Cafe, and like 5 people I'd gone out with were all in the cafe at the same time.
What the hell?
And I was like,
Oh, I don't have the pleasure.
this
of
is
that having
disgusting.
Whoa.
And I was like, I just wanted a sandwich. I just
Yeah.
wanted to get a sandwich and a coffee
Yeah.
and be on my way.
Yeah, that's so funny.
It was so bad. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. Like one person was a guy I went out with when I was 13. Everyone else was just like from my time at Glasgow Uni, and I was just so mortified. It was so silly.
Oh god.
But funny as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know what my advice is for this person. Was your advice just don't make it an ambush?
Yeah, I would say like it's not gonna be easier to just sort it out when it's then happening. It's easier to prepare for it, you know, plan the night and make sure that like either if it has to happen, if everyone has to be there, explain it to everyone so they know what kind of night they're in for. Or just in my case, avoid it completely. It would have been quite easy. I feel like I could have just said to my exes, the new person I'm seeing is going to be there. They're not quite ready. Oh, I'm not quite ready for you to meet them yet. Don't worry, if you could just not come. And like maybe that would have like been like, yeah, that would have might been annoying for them to hear, but like it's better than like it's better than annoying the person who hasn't got a fully formed opinion of you yet, you know.
Yeah.
And like you know, you have broken up with this person, and like you can act like that sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
You don't have to. They're gonna be probably more annoyed at you for like having to be in that situation as well.
Yeah.
Than you saying up front not to be there.
That's true. Because I guess if you're the ex and you're just confronted with somebody's new partner, you're very like, brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Look at this.
I love this.
Yeah, look at them being together. I'm
Great.
sure that's not nice, you know. And maybe you know what? Maybe it worked better actually in the last situation I was talking about when my first partner and I had broken up, and I was seeing someone new. The thing that was different then was that they had their partner as well, their new partner as well.
Oh, got you.
So it was like we were kind of mutual in this strange dynamic, you know. It wasn't that it was just one single person and 2 people going out.
Yeah.
In my case, it was us 2 going out. 2 single people, I think.
Yeah.
I think they were. I don't know. They didn't have their partners there.
I do
so-
kind of like it that they got to team up
Yeah.
for that
yeah,
one
yeah,
night.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's weirdly
I think
like
that
a
was
good
nice.
result.
I think that was. I was like, okay, that's. I mean, yeah, that's cool. It was
That's something.
It was odd, but yeah, being what you think isn't nice is the nicest thing to do. Because like me having this sort of nice guy complex of like not wanting to ever bring up any hard conversations with people is like, okay, don't tell these people not to come, because then you're not being the nice guy that you are. Whereas like I would have been a lot nicer to have just gone, listen,
Yeah.
can you not come please?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like I just need to, this is like a big night for me, and I want to enjoy it with the person I'm seeing.
No.
You know? Yeah.
Well, I think that's so, like, I know a lot of guys as well who are like, it does always seem to go worse for them when they're trying to do right by everybody.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And yeah, you can't. Like, you just
Yeah.
objectively can't. Like, you cannot please everyone.
No.
And you just have to
not
work
at all.
out who the priority is, like, at that moment in time.
Yeah.
Which is hard,
It is hard.
but also sometimes quite obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it is.
it was really obvious. It was all there, plain for me to see, but I didn't take action on it. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like everyone was in a bit of a like socialise or die kind of mentality before any lockdowns. At least I was like, it was like something that I thought I needed to do, like going out and like that, like it should be with as much people as possible and stuff. But
I do think that's
feel
like
that anymore. Like I wouldn't have even invited them now. I don't think it's easy. You don't even need to have any tough conversations. You can do it with silence as well.
Yeah.
You know.
I think I was gonna say that's like quite an art world thing of just being like, you just have to go everywhere, see everything, see everyone, like go to the party afterwards. Yeah. And I've always been so shit at that. Yeah. Like aggressively shit at that. Like I just don't care. Like 2:00's my bedtime. Like I just want to go home. Like if I don't know somebody, then that's fine. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, like chances are Adam will tell me. And I'll be like, okay, cool. And then like I'll access them like that way. But I think especially with like art school, because I used to go to a lot more art school parties. I used to be like really, really aware that it was like a networking event at the same time that it was like
it was so that
a socializing thing. Like it never felt like
what course are you on? Because like that was the thing. I feel like people who didn't go to art school, who went to art school parties, like that I've talked to, have been annoyed by the fact that everyone assumes that you're like at art school. Or that they like ask you what course you're on.
Somebody asked me why I was there at one party I went to. It wasn't even a party actually. It was one of Adam's, like, you know, the project space and like the top floor. I went to Adam's exhibition there. Then like somebody asked me what I was doing, and I was like, oh no, like I study history of art in English at Glasgow. And then they were like, oh, so why are you here? And I was like, oh, gross,
icy, horrible. It's so real. Like, wait, are you even allowed in here? Like, this is like art school. What do you call it again? Is it a union?
Yes, the
union. Like, where's your card? Like, are you even allowed here? No.
It was just one of them. Like, it was just quite strange. And I totally do get that, like, if there's pressure for everyone to be there, you can't be the arbiter of, like, you're allowed to come and you're not.
Yeah, exactly.
On top of, like, X stress.
Exactly. Of, like, on top of, like, it just was, like, so all about, I don't like it when it's all about me, but, like, inevitably an exhibition opening that all my friends are there because of me is all about me. And then it was just so hinged on this thing of like celebrating like what I'd done for an exhibition. It was so sweet and lovely that my friends had like wanted to go out for dinner afterwards, but also so horrible. Who put me through this, and couldn't they have seen? You know, like, but it's like this horrible selfishness that you have, like wouldn't they have or couldn't they have sorted it out? Like, why did my friends organise this for me? You know, like,
couldn't they all just gone to dinner about me without me being there?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like this whole thing of like, oh, everyone was doing this for me, so it's all my fault, you know.
Aww. I don't think it was your fault, and I think if this person's gonna like go ahead and like carry on with like their friends still like really being part of their like their exes who are their friends rather, being really really part of their life, and like their new partner's just gonna have to like meet them. It's got to be okay. It should be in a big group where it's not just like them meeting the ex.
Don't organise any like just 3 of you, you know.
Definitely that would really make me uncomfortable.
But choose the right social thing to happen, because
it's not like too open and broad and not too tight.
That's like not too your like that was like I could govern whoever was invited to that thing, you know, but like maybe that's not the best, because that like puts a lot of like pressure on you having decided about everyone who was there. So it's like if it's like, oh, let's go to this party, I'll take you along to this party my friend's having. Oh, it turns out that my ex is also friends with this person, so they're gonna go too. Then it's not like you've deviously put together this like this plan to it, because I feel like that's what it kind of, that was what was weird for my partner now to deal with. Like, why the hell did he do this? Like, why the hell are these people here? You know, like,
yeah,
like I don't think they understood like what was going on. I think
it seemed like an executive decision that
it
you
seemed
made.
like I'd decided to do it.
Yeah.
And like that makes me feel so creepy when I think of like,
yeah, because that makes it sound like you've been
that
scheming.
you're like, ugh, like why would I didn't do it on purpose. I was just out of politeness that this all came together. Like, give me a break.
So yeah, I guess our advice for this is just like try and tread the balance between polite and calculating.
Don't be too polite, basically.
Yeah.
Be upfront with people.
And it'll be fine. And the way to prepare for it, I guess, is just like knowing that they might not get along.
Yeah.
Like remembering the qualities in your exes that were like difficult for you to get along with.
Yeah.
And knowing that that's probably going to make it difficult for your partner to get along with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe signposting that, but then also being like, but we're obviously still friends because I like them. And like, I don't want things to be tense. I'm sure you don't want things to be tense.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
and I'm pretty sure they don't want things to be tense, but I'll double check.
yeah, but I don't really want to bring them in on this shit right now, because that was a whole other thing of like talking to like, that person about like, oh yeah, my ex is going to be, are you okay with that? Like, tell me if you're not okay with that. And if you're not okay with that, then I won't invite them. But if you're okay with that, then they're still going to come, okay? It's like, then you're putting that decision on them. So it's
and
like,
that's not on. Because
Yeah.
then if they find out, like if all your other friends find out that it's your current partner that was like, I don't want to see them, then that's brutal.
Exactly.
That's a mess.
Yeah, it's an absolute mess. Yeah.
Invite them to a party with other people that's
yeah.
not your party.
Exactly.
And it'll be fine. I believe in you. I have faith in you. Answer this question and you'll be okay. So, the next question is, it's quite a long one.
Okay.
My boyfriend has this really intense friendship that seems to make them unhappy, and it involves a lot of problematic physical and emotional intimacy. And that leads to emotional blackmail and guilt tripping. They seem aware of it, but also committed to the friendship. I've deliberately refrained from being too prescriptive about it, but it's getting too weird. I don't want to be in the kind of relationship where I veto their friendships, but I do want this person gone. What are my options?
So this is quite similar to the situation that I was in.
So you, wait, what side were you on?
So I was the boyfriend that this person's talking about. And I had a really close friend who I met on the first night of coming to uni to study at the Glasgow School of Art. And we bonded over smoking weed and like liking new metal and like just kind of geeking out basically, and just had this like really lovely friendship. But it was also like occasionally fraught with like kind of caring a bit too much about, you know, wherever one of us wasn't available to hang out, you know. And it was an intense friendship, but I think we needed it because we needed some sense of like family, you know, coming to somewhere and living by ourselves for the first time, you know. It was that kind of support that at the time. And anyway, we'd been friends all like while I was going out with someone. So it was like there was never any sexual tension or any sort of like romance there. We were just really close and open. But anyway, the next partner that I had, they got off to a wrong foot with my friend. I think I had like missed my friend's birthday party, or because I was going on a date with my new partner, or like the new person I was seeing, and it was this kind of like very kind of like, well, I'm not going to speak to you because you missed my birthday party, or well,
you're being ridiculous because I celebrated your birthday on another day and stuff like that. And it was like, I think the first time that them two met, my friend was like still angry with me.
Right. And that gets taken out on the new girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. My partner decided kind of from there that they didn't really like them very much. Like they didn't think that they were very good for me, or thought that it was too weird, or like there was too much pressure on, like, you know, maintaining this friendship, which I was like, okay, yeah, in this situation this was a bit weird, but like this friendship is really important to me, like I can't lose this person as a friend. Yeah, you two might get on, but that's not always the worst thing, you know. Like there's people that I know that you're friends with that like I don't particularly get on with, that's fine, you know, like we're allowed to have these friendships. But like then it came to this friend, they moved to Berlin, and when they wanted to come visit Glasgow, and they were going to stay with me in Glasgow, and conversation came up with my partner at the time of like, so where are they going to sleep? And I was like, well, I guess in my bed with me. And it was like, no. And then when you say it, it's like, that sounds weird. But also it really isn't weird, because we used to do that like all the time. Like it was just like a sort of childish sleepover kind of thing where we'd like watch TV, smoke weed until we fell asleep, and then we just happened to be asleep in the same bed, you know. It wasn't like we weren't sleeping together, you know.
Yeah.
But I wanted to keep that, but then also wanted to like respect my partner's strain, you know, feelings about this.
I generally wouldn't want somebody that didn't like me to sleep in the bed with my partner.
Yeah,
like at any point. It'd be like, no, that's a terrible vibe for me. Like, it was not fun. And then also if I was like the friend who was used to like just coming and like staying in someone's bed, I'd really like, well, I'm not going to stop that. Yeah. Because we're still friends, and that hasn't changed.
Yeah, so it was like I was sort of caught in the middle of understanding both of these perspectives, and also knowing and not wanting to say to this friend of mine, listen, my partner doesn't like you, you know.
Yeah.
Like I like that was the only way out. That was the only way I could explain to my friend why we couldn't sleep in the bed together, or like why it was weird, or what was going on. And like it's still to this day I haven't spoken to them about it, because it just feels like it wasn't their shit to deal with, because I didn't feel like the reason of like dislike was justified enough from my partner's perspective. Like I don't think that they were like close enough, or like that my friend had done anything bad enough to me to warrant them not liking them.
Yeah.
Like that was what was kind of irritating for me about it. It was like, well, just like, why don't you like them? You know, like really, why don't you like them? You know, like, yeah, you have a funny feeling about them, and like they did this, which was kind of off, but like really, they're not a bad person. Like, like you could, you know, you can trust me in telling you that they're not a bad person. But so it was all. It's very messy, I guess. That situation is maybe a bit similar to this question that's been asked, but like, it's not. It you know, like it sounds like there's more going on, but it sounds like maybe that there is like
with this person.
Yeah.
I think that's the hard thing, because like I've definitely been in friendships where I did feel like really emotionally blackmailed and really guilt tripped, but because there was like a lot of previous love, or like we'd gone through like a lot together, been friends for like a really, really long time, I put up with a lot of it, and I was just like, okay, well, like I guess that's just the dynamic of our friendship.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd be like, oh yeah, so like I'll go and do something with someone else, and then they'll feel bad about it, and then I'll just say sorry, and then that'll just be it, and then I'll just do it again, and I'll just go with my boyfriend instead of hanging out with them with plans I didn't know we made until today. And then I'll just apologise, and that'll be fine. And then you just fall into this like trap of just like constantly apologising to someone when you're not available to them.
Yeah, it's so
and
true.
like then And I always think, like, if most of the relationship is apologising, it's a terrible vibe.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not going to be the one. And, like, I did have people saying to me, like, you're basically, like, in a relationship with that friend. But, like, and a bad one. And, like, a toxic one with, like, all that guilt tripping and, like, emotional blackmail where, like, I couldn't do anything right, if you know what I mean. Like, and I think if this person's in that situation, like, if your boyfriend is just, like, constantly apologising and, like, constantly, like, not doing anything wrong but really feels like you're doing things wrong. Yeah. And it's really bothering you. And if he's aware of that, then, like, I think just keeping saying that, like, you really don't like that, but also having specific examples. Because, like, what you said about being, like, but what has she actually done? Yeah. Like, what's actually happened? Yeah. Because if the answer is nothing, and it's just, like, one incident, then that's one thing.
That is it, really. If you know that something's happened and you can say why, you know, you have these feelings about the person, then you should encourage your boyfriend not to hang out with them.
And to get a bit of distance, I think. But just not if it's like, I have a bad vibe and one bad thing happened once.
Yeah. Not if it's just like they were a bit off with you when like you met them for the first time, or like they didn't ask you how your day was. Like there's a limit to how much I can comment on this because I don't know how mature you're like, you know, like what stage of life you're in, like because how long this friendship has lasted, how long your relationship has lasted, like.
Because I remember feeling like there was definitely a point when I was maybe like 18, 19 where everything that happened to me that I didn't like felt like a completely intentional like slight against me and all that kind of thing, but it's just not true. Yeah. Like, you know when someone's intentionally going out of their way to like hurt you and upset you. And if someone's just like not having their best day and it means that you're not having your best time with them, chances are it's not intentional. Yeah, exactly. And like, I think it did take me like all of first year at uni to like learn that basically. Yeah. And be like, yeah, just because someone's like not being as pleasant to you as you are to them doesn't mean that they fucking hate you.
Yeah, exactly. It just means that they're having like a bad time, you know.
What would you say, like, if this was your friend? Because I think that's a good way to think about it. Like, you're not in a relationship with the person, it's your friend, and you're watching them have someone be really shit to them and, like, take advantage of them and make them feel awful. But they're still quote-unquote friends.
I would say, like, if they were kind of, like, bartering them to hang out with them and we were hanging out at that time, I'd say just, like, put your phone down, ignore them, message them tomorrow. Explain what happened and don't say sorry, you know, like try to refrain from apologising and just see where that gets you, because like if the other person is becoming annoyed that you're not apologising and then you're like wait what should I apologise about, and there's nothing to apologise about, then you know that's a blackmailing situation.
That's really true, because I think I was just really bad at the time for just being like sorry,
I'm terrible at doing that, you know, saying, oh no, I can't do this, sorry. It's like, no, you can't do this, so there's no
stop.
there's no apology needed. Like, but it feels really harsh and impolite to do that. But like my partner was showing me this, like all the different kinds of no's, like what no to use in what situation. No, like there's like a rain check no of like, oh, I can't do today, but like I can do this day. Is that good with you? I might be able to do this day. Is that good with you? When to use which no in which situation. I don't know all the no's, sorry, but
it's okay.
Again, I shouldn't have apologised for that. I don't know all the no's. You don't say sorry. We should all say sorry less.
I really think so, because it always just gets me down. Like, like, if someone's apologising to me and I don't know why they're apologising, I'm like, what? Like, how have I upset you?
Yeah, exactly. Because like, sorry, actually, a lot of the time it's said to you, it comes across as like a thing that they're trying to sort of like grasp something out of you, of being like, oh no, it's so fine, you know. By cutting out the word, like in a lot of times, it actually cleanses the air a bit.
Yeah, it's much clearer if someone's like, if I'm like, oh, I missed your call. Do you want to, like, I'd rather say like, oh, I missed your call, do you want to call me back in like 20 minutes? I'll be free then. Yeah. I said like, oh, I'm so sorry, are you around? Like, I don't know, it makes everything really beggy. And then like when someone's like, I'm sorry, I didn't do that the way you wanted to. You're like, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, it really doesn't matter. I just thought this was happening this way, and it's happening this way, but we're all here now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Exactly.
Like, it's quite difficult to, like, describe what it's like when someone apologises to you and you just feel like you've been, like, needlessly, like, intimidating her. I don't know.
Yeah, you feel like you've been sort of placed in this power game.
Yeah, because it is
you
that.
feel like, so now I'm the bad guy. You know, like,
because now I'm being, like, kowtowed to in a way.
Apologise
to you, like, but I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's just weird. I think it's a terrible, terrible vibe. But I think that's a really good piece of advice. Just be like, message them without apologising and see how they feel about that.
Yeah.
Because if someone's, like, looking for you to say sorry to them all the time,
they're going to find something else that they're annoyed at you with and try and get you to apologise for that. So, you know, like, if you know this friend of theirs, like, maybe you should... it feels so weird to say. Should you talk to them about it? Like, should you try and, like, if you can't see that your boyfriend is going to do anything about it, can you do anything about it? Like...
I think that's such risky territory, but I'm interested in, like, what you would do. What would you say to the person? So someone's messaging your partner and making them feel like crap all the time.
See, this is the thing. It's like you don't want to, like, be getting too involved in your partner.
I know, and then sometimes I think this podcast is me, like, being the version of myself that's the most, like, bullshit when I'm giving advice, and people like, just do this! And then, like... I think this is a hard one, because it's like... I think I probably would feel quite comfortable just being like, why are you being to them like that? Like, if it happened in real time.
In real life, like,
and then just being like, that's really not, like, that's really harsh.
They didn't do anything wrong. You know, like, seize those opportunities, I guess, to when you know that something's gone wrong and you're there, you witness it. Yeah. Try and, like, bring it up and don't let it just slide, you know.
I think that's,
make
like,
an example out of that situation. But maybe that's bad advice as well.
No, I think that's good advice, because then I think the other thing about all of this is that when someone's making you feel that way, like when you're the boyfriend, if you know what I mean, is that, like, if no one gives you a frame of reference for it, then you just don't have one.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, well, this is just normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's just normal for me to feel really guilty and bad all the time.
Yeah.
And, like, if I don't reply to a text within the hour, it's enough for us to fall out. Sure. That seems fair. I guess I did leave them hanging for a reply.
Yeah.
And, like, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then, like, the minute somebody else is like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's not how normal people behave. Like, then it does clear everything up.
Yeah.
And I think if you've got... Like, because the thing that I always hate when someone's like, oh, well, when did I do that? And you can't think.
Yeah, exactly. It's
like,
the worst thing. Like, when you're in an argument and it's like, you do that all the time though. It's like, when? You're like, well, I don't know. Like, and then it just defeats your point magically. When it doesn't, you know, like, they're only asking that so you know that that's, like, actually happened. You know, it's weird.
It's so weird. That is one of my least favourite. When someone's like, well, when? And you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We both know it happened.
Yeah, we know it happened. But, like,
the fact that I can't immediately think of one example.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that. But I think that's also a toxic thing to do. Instead of just being like, okay.
Yeah.
And then, like, if you are actually, though, like, that doesn't happen, that's not true.
Yeah.
Then I just think, say that.
Yeah.
This is a totally different answer to a totally different question.
Yeah.
But
it brings up a lot of questions, though, this, because you've got this dynamic of, like, a relationship and then a friendship, like, impeding on that relationship. Like, getting into it and, like, sort of, you know, just sort of getting on your nerve, you know. That's, like, that's quite a, you know, that's quite a big thing to happen.
Yeah.
And, like, it's a hard one to deal with, because you don't want to tread on anyone's toes.
No.
But then you also want to, like, you want to respect this person you're seeing and, like...
But it does also become, like, about your time.
Yeah.
That's the other part of it. Like, if your partner spends a lot of their time feeling like shit because of somebody else, and if your partner does spend a lot of their time, like, ditching your plans because someone else has made them feel bad...
Yeah.
Then I think it is totally fair to be like, no, this is bullshit, like, I don't like this.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just being
like getting on my nerves. I can't hang out with them as much,
Yeah. And like, I don't know, I think that's totally fine.
Yeah.
To especially raise to your partner and be like, I really don't like the way they treat you at all.
Yeah.
And I don't like the way it means that you treat me.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, bring it back to you, because like the more that you frame it around their happiness, like the more it's annoying when someone is trying to sort of like kind of like diagnose your needs for happiness, like,
yeah.
and like if you just put it in place of like, no, this is how this makes me feel because of how it makes, because of how I think it makes you feel, it makes me feel like this, that really like that puts it into real perspective of, like,
I think so, because I think also you can have really like quite a high threshold for how shit you can feel.
Yeah.
So when someone's like, oh, like that makes you feel like this,
yeah,
and you're like, well, not always.
yeah, you're like, no,
And then you're like,
yeah,
no,
fine.
it's fine.
Yeah.
I
Shut
don't
up.
mind feeling like
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
That's
I
cool.
like feeling like that. You
that's
have to do
part of
things you
my
don't
day.
like sometimes. Yeah, it's character building actually.
It's all compromise,
you should
isn't it?
try having a bit more of that.
So I think the best thing to do is just say like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And then even if that means that person's like, well, we need to break up because you're the problem, you can be like, fine, because I don't want to be involved in this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to facilitate this, and I don't
Yeah.
want to like see it happen all the time,
Yeah.
and I don't want to pretend it's fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess that's my advice. That's your advice too.
Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, I hope it all works out.
Yeah.
Hope this friend kind of goes away.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so the last question is, I'm a 6'2" girl in my final year at school. None of the tall boys I know fancy me, and every boy in my year is going out with a girl who's smaller than them. Should I give up on going out with a tall boy? I thought I'd ask you this question because you are 6'7".
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
actually
only...
found out the other day that I'm taller than Michael Jordan.
Are you?
He's 6'6".
That's so funny.
I watched the documentary on Michael Jordan, on Air Jordan trainers.
What a weird thing to know, that I'm like, what it would be
know,
like for
to
me
put
to
it-
be next to Michael Jordan
Yeah.
compared to being next to you.
Exactly.
That's so
1
funny.
inch of difference in height. Funny, isn't it?
It's funny. But how did you
but-
find your high school experience in terms of like dating? You said a bit of it before that you just didn't do it.
Yeah, I didn't do it.
But did tallness come into that, or was tallness like...
I think just being a bit strange came into that the most, but like I feel like the tallness made me feel strange as well. Just a bit too big, you know. We were talking about this before, like I feel like there's a system of tallness, you know, in school of like if you're tall, you know, you have this sort of immediate trump card of like being able to date more people because tallness is hot, and if you're not, then you're a failure, or like there's something wrong with you other than that, and then like
If you're a tall girl in school, I think you're made to feel like you have to go out with an even taller boy. Like it's this weird like height supremacy thing of like you can't go out with a small boy. Like, because I think definitely when I'm 5'3". I'm not tall. But I think my mum definitely made me feel like you have to go out with a guy who's taller than you. And like I thought that was like just it at the time. Like I didn't think that was negotiable.
yeah.
It was just really strange. Like when you think about it, like why wouldn't I be able to do that? Like at the moment it is a question of like how many men under 5'3" there are. But like why it's crazy that I was discouraged like so much. I think women everywhere are discouraged from going out with like a short guy. And like I think that goes for this tall girl as well. I think you should, if you don't want to go out with a short guy, you kind of need to work out why you don't want to go out with a short guy. Because we were talking before about like perceived dominance via height, because we were saying like you were saying that you don't want to be like a tall guy that's like aggressive and intimidating, and like I think like the opposite association of that is what we were talking about in the living room, where like if you're the tall girl, it's like you have to be the physical protector.
There's this thing that's associated with height and dominance, and I think that like not dating someone a bit shorter than you is about like a a power dynamic that you don't want to happen. The only reason that you don't want to date people smaller than you is because like it's seen that like in a heterosexual relationship, like the man should be more like physically dominant than the woman, where it's like we need to break that completely, because it's like, first of all, tallness has nothing to do with how dominant you are, or how strong you are, or like how capable you are of like protecting someone. And then like I guess like who do you fancy really? Like,
and why do you fancy them?
Yeah, like, do you fancy like someone because you think everyone else thinks that you should fancy that person, or do you fancy them because like you like what they're about? You know, like you shouldn't. If you fancy someone, try not to let any like prejudices that people have against you two seeing each other based on things like height, you know,
so very superficial things. Very superficial. Like, also there aren't that many guys that are over 6'2".
Yeah.
Like, you will be hard pressed to find a guy who's over 6'2".
Yeah, exactly.
Like, in most places in the world.
Yeah.
And like, you are tall, and you're gonna look really cool because you're tall.
Yeah.
As a 5'3" girl,
great.
you're gonna look really cool.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sure there are plenty of guys who like really like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And you might not find them at high school because everyone in high school is like pretty superficial and not totally aware of themselves.
Yeah.
And like what they want, because everything is so prescribed through TV shows and through like the media.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
through everything you watch. Because I think we were talking about this earlier as well. We were both like, everyone in a high school is in a relationship because we'd seen that in all the films. But like, it's not true.
Yeah.
Like, it's really not true.
It's okay not to date anyone in high school. Like, I didn't. And like, I think that was actually, in retrospect, really good for me. You know, not to do that. And like, you know, it's so hard because I know that feeling of like, feeling like you must be doing something with someone. You know, you must be having relationships, you must be like being romantic and like kissing people and having flings and stuff, but like that's probably not the best thing for you right now. And like, just don't worry, there's so many people you're gonna meet,
don't sweat,
tall or small, that you're gonna love to bits, and like they're the right person for you. Like, it doesn't matter this idea that you have to have a boyfriend who's much taller than you is complete rubbish. It doesn't matter at all. Like, it really doesn't. What
would you say does matter? Because for a high schooler, I think it needs to be that you can trust them.
Yeah.
That they make you laugh.
Laughing is a big one.
Laughing's a really big one.
It's a really big one. Also, that they make you feel comfortable in like anything that you think is kind of weird about yourself. You know, you need that person to find that funny in a way that you find funny, or just like be supportive of and like celebrate. You know, anyone who's like pre-planning like by your appearance, like whether you're gonna be like good for each other, is not the right person for you. You know, and everyone will grow out of that. Well, maybe people don't ever grow out of that, and they're not the person for you.
No.
You know.
I think it's also really, really hard to feel comfortable when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
I don't think I felt comfortable for more than 10 minutes at a time when I was a teenager. And like, I think, if you can find someone that just makes things feel like even a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And make you feel like a little bit less like out of place, or like, then that's the main thing, and that might just be friendships at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And friendships are the best.
Yeah.
They're so
and also,
great.
Through friendships, you'll meet more people.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Maybe you'll get a better range of people through them.
Yeah, maybe just concentrate on the friendships.
Yeah, right, concentrate on yourself, concentrate on the friendship.
Yeah.
If you don't fancy the short boys in your year, you don't have to go out with the short boys in your year. That's insane.
Yeah,
like, you don't have to go out with anyone. Like, if you don't fancy them, you don't fancy them. And that just has to be it.
It's so that.
Also, like, I really remember, like, trying to work myself up to fancy people in my year at school when I was in, like, second year and third year at school.
So true.
Because I was like, right, who will be my person? Even though, like, I wasn't attracted to anyone.
I know, it's really weird when you would go out with... I mean, I say I didn't have any relationships in school, but there was this one thing that was, like, technically, you know, we were going out for like a couple months or something. Nothing really happened other than us going to a shopping centre once and us saying that we were like going out, you know. Like, and then while that was happening, like, I found out that another one of my friends had actually fancied me before, and like when we went out was kind of upset about it, and like that person was great for me. You know, like, we were like the best of friends, and like that would have made a lot more sense as a relationship. So it sounds weird, but like, don't commit to anything right now. Like, if
I don't think that sounds weird.
We were in a relationship that wasn't a relationship, and I still had this sort of level of like, and they ended up leaving me from one of my best friends. So basically, you know, in this stage of your life, like, unless you like really know that you're in love, don't worry about just patching things and seeing other people and seeing how that goes. Because I feel like if I'd have had a relationship with this other person, things would have been really great for me at school, and like I would have had a really lovely first cute relationship. It would have been the same stuff, but with just a really great friendship that was going on behind it, rather than rumours that this person fancied me. Did they really fancy, you know, me, or was it just like the idea of me?
Yeah. You know? I also remember like from my first like fake relationships in school, I didn't want to be in any of them, but I said I did when it happened. Yeah. Because I just panicked so much, and I was like, no, it's good to be in a relationship. Yeah. That's what I want. I want a boyfriend. Yeah. And I'd always be like, what the fuck am I doing? Like over the weekend, I'd just be like, I don't want to go out with them, even though what going out with them would have meant in first year at school would have been like occasionally texting, speaking over MSN. I remember being like,
putting a kiss at the end of your messages.
And be like, love you, which wouldn't be true. But then I'd have like a full crisis about it. Yeah. Like, I remember like phoning two friends immediately after one boy asked me out to be like, how'd I get out of this? Like, immediately. And then just chucking him a note in maths when I was like running out to get the bus, and then it was awful. It was awful.
Messy times for
messy teens.
Yeah, messy teens and messy times. But none of it matters. Like,
it really doesn't. It just becomes a funny story.
I would love to have a partner who is taller than me. I'd love to have like a girlfriend who is taller than me. Like, that would be amazing.
It would actually be amazing to see.
That would be like, not that I'm not content in like that not having it sounds weird, but whoever gets to go out with you is lucky, because that's a rare thing for someone to be that tall. So don't worry. You know, someone will see that one day, and that's all you have to think about.
Yeah.
Don't think about what everyone else thinks, you know. None of it matters. It really doesn't matter.
Just try and have a laugh, you know.
And also, how do you know that these tall people don't fancy you?
Good question.
You know, like, how do you know that?
How do you know? But yeah, I wouldn't sweat it anyway. Like, just try and have a nice time. That's the priority.
Yeah.
Don't vex over this. You'll be great.
Yeah.
You seem lovely. You seem like a very emotionally mature teenager.
Yeah.
Thanks for DMing.
Thanks for the message.
Matthew, to wrap up, do you have any film or TV or book or music recommendations to get over heartbreak?
Yeah, I do. So I feel like music is my thing, and films. I would say for music, Colour Green by Sybil Bayer, which is like,
I haven't heard it.
It's really good. It's like folk songs, really sad. I interpret it as like a relationship that's maybe breaking up, but something that's like really important to Sybil, you know, as a friendship, and like the pain of like breaking up with someone who you've become friends with, you know, after like a long period of time. And then in a really cringy way, I always go back to when I'm in any sad situation, I listen to Elliott Smith.
Oh my god, no, that's not cringy. I love Elliott Smith. He was one of my recommendations for our like breakup playlist episodes. Yeah, Pizzella.
I don't know why I got this idea of it being cringy, but like it just is.
I think it's quite emo, to be fair.
It's so emo and like kind of it's like emo Blink-182 is my best way of describing it, you know. Like,
what? I don't think that's fair. I think Elliot Smith's so
I like
nice.
Blink-182.
Oh, I don't really like Blink-182. That's why I've taken it as an insult.
There you go. I think it's got that same American boy thing that maybe Blink-182 has at times.
Yeah.
But like, I think he's a really beautiful songwriter. And then for films, I mean, I always go back to, I kind of love Pixar films so much. And like, I think Toy Story is like, just Toy Story 1 is like such a great film for like, I don't know, maybe if you feel misunderstood in a relationship, watch Toy Story and act like you're Sid, because I think that Sid the child was the most misinterpreted character in any Disney film. Yeah, he was destructive, and like he was like gonna send these toys to space, but he didn't know that they were sentient.
He didn't.
He didn't know they were sentient beings, did he?
No, he didn't. It's not as bad as it seems.
He just thought they were pieces of plastic. And also there's a scene in that like the dog like goes into this room and there's this like guy sitting on a chair with a beer, and I think that's meant to be Sid's dad, and I think it's insinuating that Sid's dad is like a neglectful father.
I think we should all give Sid an easier time.
Think about that and give Sid an easy time.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll make you feel better. Yeah. That's what I really like watching Toy Story and
I can't listen
and thinking about Sid.
Yeah, I can't listen to You've Got a Friend in Me because it makes me really, really cry.
Does it?
Really, 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 really cry.
It is
like helplessly cry.
Oh.
It's really beautiful and it's just really emotional.
Yeah.
And like even thinking about it's made me well up. But like I just really love that song.
Yeah.
And I love Randy Newman. I love his little like sad donkey voice.
Yeah.
And I just
such
think
a sad donkey voice.
yeah. I think that's a really good recommendation. But I was actually gonna make a recommendation based on what I've been binge watching with Kismet, which is Lost.
Yes.
I think that's actually a really good breakup viewing because there are so many characters, everyone's going through so much.
There's too much drama in it for you to worry about your little drama that you're having with a breakup. They're going through time warps. You know,
they have to worry about the fuselage all
Yeah,
the
the
time.
fuselage. It's how I got. They say that every second they can.
And the transceiver.
Find that in the fuselage.
Everything's about the fuselage. You can just forget about your ex and think about the fuselage.
And then also Lost is so much about like what actually matters.
Yeah.
Now that like everything's stripped back, everything's fucked.
Yeah.
Like you need to work out who you are. You need to work out what parts of your past you're carrying forward. Like I just watched that episode where Locke like drugs Boone. Like puts that like hallucinogenic stuff in his head.
Yeah, and he tries to show him the ways of the jungle or something.
And he's like, because he's like, you need to forget about Shannon.
Yeah.
And all that stuff because of that
God.
whole like sick, twisted relationship. And then he
Weird.
like, it's so like, and then he's like, how did you feel when she died? And
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
I felt relieved.
Yeah. Yay!
It's time to move on.
Yeah.
So I think watch Lost.
Yeah, watch Lost.
Watch
sure.
Lost. Listen to those guys and watch Toy Story as well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Matthew. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. I think it's at Matthew Rimmer _ I've also got a website, matthewrimmer.net, and hopefully on other places of the World Wide Web soon.
Yeah,
but
sweet.
we shall see.
We shall see. You can find the podcast Instagram at Breaking Up Podcast, and you can DM us any agony aunt questions there, any recommendations there, any sponsorship offers there. Thank you to warfashion.com for being my first ever sponsor. If you want to get 30% off some lovely clothes, some lovely little summery pieces, you can use the discount code, which is breakingup30 on their website at checkout. That's warfashion.com, WORE fashion.com. And you can also email me like agony aunt questions and all these things at breakinguppodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much. Thank you, Matthew.
Bye.
Bye.